Hello everyone and welcome back to Helen's Honest Baking. This video we're experimenting with an Australian signature classic, the lemon slice, and I'm testing the recipe by Tom O'Toole, the founder of the Beechworth Bakery, which is a local institution across Southeast Australia. These bakeries truly capture the essence of Australian country-style baking, and I think this book, More Secrets of the Beechworth Bakery, is a great place to start. To start, I'm going to decipher what the heck is a slice. I only found out when I emigrated that it's not a common term. They're similar to a tray bake or blondie variations, but are closer to your bars, like your lemon bar. Their origins are kind of a happy blending between the Aussie obsession with food you can eat with your hands and petit four and millefeuille type cakes, making them more simple and adding some tropical ingredients. There can be 2 or 3 layers, and this lemon slice today will be a no-bake biscuit layer topped with some zesty lemon frosting. First up, we blitz 750 grams of tea biscuits in the food processor. The recipe calls for Marie biscuits, but any plain, mildly sweet cookie will do. I've gone for a mix here with 250 grams of shortbread and 500 grams of petit beurre to amp up the butteriness. My food processor is, well, fairly mini for this task, so don't mind me while I do this in a couple of batches. It really doesn't need too many pulses because we're looking for a mix of powder and larger hunks, since those will help the slice to retain its moisture. And rinse and repeat, and repeat, and repeat. Next up, we need to bind these together with some gooey goodness. We start by melting 375 grams of butter. The recipe doesn't specify salted or unsalted, rather annoyingly, so I'm going for unsalted, well, because I have to pick one, and in theory we won't have to worry too much about controlling the sweetness in this recipe. I've dumped that here in this bowl so you can see what I'm doing, but you can also do this next part all in a medium-sized saucepan. Next up, we add what we lovingly refer to in this house as the elixir of the gods, aka sweetened condensed milk. I'm pouring in 400 grams of the good stuff. One thing that kind of bugs me is that it's really hard to get a lactose-free version of this, so I think next time I'll try making it myself, since in theory it's just the removal of water and the addition of sugar to preserve the milk. I'm stirring this into butter until it's nicely combined and shiny, which may take a bit of folding in. Next, we pour in the juice of 1 lemon to give the biscuit base a light zing. I cannot recommend enough splurging on the citrus press to do that. All other forms of lemon juicing are just painful. This is followed by the grated rind of 2 lemons. Mine were kind of small, so I did 3 in the end. As well, my personal preference is to use a full-size grater rather than a zester for these recipes, where you want slightly larger pieces of rind in the mix. And finally, we're stirring in an Australian slice staple, 2 1/3 cups of desiccated coconut. I always choose unsweetened because it gives you more control over the sweetness of your end product, and let's face it, we did just dunk in a whole lot of sweetened condensed milk. Desiccated just means the coconut meat has been ground up into little pieces and dehydrated for storage. Keeps more fat content than coconut flour, so you can't just swap them out. Now we mix through the cookie crumbs. It can be a bit messy, so I'm actually really regretting not doing this in the stand mixer now. Really regretting it, and I recommend combining it on a low speed in there for next time. You'll be able to see how the biscuit base is absorbing the liquids nicely and softening up throughout. Now for the fun part. This is a no-bake recipe, people, so we line a storage container with 2 pieces of parchment paper, making a sling in either direction so we can pull the slice out later. My container here is 9 by 9 inch, but I recommend using an inch or 2 in either direction, a little bit larger, so that the base to frosting ratio is better in your version. We slowly drop the mix in, trying to weigh down each corner of paper first so that it doesn't move around too much. Once it's all in, just press it down into a nice solid mass with the flat top, which is satisfying. Then all we do is pop that into the freezer while we work on the frosting. Here, I have a bowl of 3 cups of sifted icing sugar. I'm not totally convinced that this needed to be sifted as a home baker, but I did want to respect the recipe, so sift I did. Next is a 1/4 cup of lemon juice that's been warmed in the microwave for 15 seconds. So all up, I recommend getting 4 lemons for this recipe to have you covered from end to end. And in this last bowl, I have a 1/4 cup of warmed butter. You'll see the consistency would be classified officially as nuked, since I indeed thought, 15 seconds in the microwave would be fine to get it soft. Oh no, it should have been 9 seconds. It's around this stage I'm getting really fed up with the lack of specifics in this recipe, and yes, I know all microwaves are different, but I've been filling in a lot of the blanks in this bake so far. First up, we mix in, well, the butter first, if we are to respect baking canon, and follow that up with the lemon juice, which is my favorite ingredient in frosting. I'm using just a spatula here, and that's plenty to get it nice and smooth. If you prefer, like myself, you can split putting the juice into a couple of batches, so you can check that you're happy with the consistency of the frosting in case of any measuring issues earlier. Ultimately, we want the frosting to be thick enough to hold onto the spoon, but a little runnier than what you would pipe onto a cupcake, so that it spreads nicely across the entire biscuit base, yet holds its form thanks to being chilled in the fridge. And here goes the famous spoon drop test. And ploop, ploop, ploop. I'm pretty happy with that. So let's go rescue our base from the freezer. It's nice and hard already, so spreading this frosting on will be a cinch. I suppose I could pipe it on, but since it's a bit runny anyway, I doubt any pretty pattern would really hold, and it's more traditional to have it as one flat glossy layer. So this is all nice and flat and glossy, so we'll pop that into the fridge to set for at least 2 hours, and optimally overnight so that everything soaks in well and the frosting is truly set. Here we are back again a mere 4 hours later, but it's time! It's one nice big and heavy slab of goodness. You can pull it out easily by the sling and thump. So grab your longest cutting knife and section this beast up. I generally start by working it into 16 pieces, but tend to come back later and halve everything again because these slices are thick. And like I said earlier, I recommend using a slightly larger container so yours are a bit thinner than mine. And here is our close-up. You can see that we have an even distribution, but I'll be honest, I think if we had a few less biscuits and had let it set for longer in the freezer, it'd look a little bit more held together with fewer holes between the large pieces of ingredients. That being said, it still looks yummy, and I can't wait to dig into that lemon frosting. So it's rating time again, and here goes nothing. Since these have a lot of nostalgia for me, it's going to be a tough one. I think appearance is a 4.0. They look really appetizing and glossy, and them being a bit tall is more my mistake than the recipe's fault. I think they could have been elevated with more time in the food processor and slightly fewer cookies. Taste is a 4.0 here as the initial impression since they are fresh, zingy and sweet, but not overly sweet. But both cameraman and I agree that these are just not bingeable. You eat one and you're done, and the taste gets old quickly. So I think it needs to go down to a 3.5. Texture is a 3.5 because they are a bit too biscuity and my execution could have been better to make the mix smoother. As for the ease, it's a 2.5. Even though there's no baking, prepping the cookies is annoying, juicing and zesting the lemons is annoying, and the most annoying thing of all is that the recipe is a mess. No grams, eating ingredients out of order and not specific, and the steps are missing details. As a home baker, I'm just having to work way too hard. So that makes our total 13.5. Not outstanding, but still a tasty bake and something refreshing after all those chocolate chip cookies and fudgy brownies, which you can check out in my other videos. If you ever come across it at the Beechworth Bakery itself or secondhand online, I do recommend picking up a copy of Tom O'Toole's More Secrets at the Beechworth Bakery. It's a lovely capsule of Australian country baking, and there are many more slices in here to try. Please like and subscribe to my channel for more home kitchen tests and head-to-heads of the most popular and applauded baking recipes out there to see what should be in your rotation before buying all the books. Bye!